Buffalo After Dark is proud to recommend I Barbecue for You. Pre-orders are suggested by calling 716-880-7667. I Barbecue for You, Buffalo's new barbecue destination.
Just move the coyotes. Don't do another expansion.
Right? It never crossed my mind. So somebody called the house when I was out mowing the grass.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
Holy shit, your face is like purple.
Are you still up? Now in our 5th season, it's Buffalo After Dark.
Welcome to Buffalo After Dark, everybody. It is Wednesday night, October 2nd, and we've got a lot of sports stuff happening, but of course, we're going to jump into football first as we usually do. And of course, if you want to jump on the show, 929-205-6099 gets you on the air. We're also live on YouTube and on Facebook. And of course, if you want to catch some of our older stuff, go to Spotify, look at Buffalo After Dark, we're there. But of course, Hanson is with us as usual. How was your trip? Because you were down in Baltimore and you got to see the shit show that happened on Sunday Night Football.
It was good though. Thank you for having me, Tom, as usual. And yeah, my trip to Baltimore was fun. I have a lot to say about the trip. The game overall was an absolute shit show, but I guess it was one of those games where you could say it was an off night kind of a game. They were completely unprepared for it, and they got the shit kicked out of them.
Yeah, sometimes it happens, but of course, we're going to jump right into that. So, for anyone who obviously doesn't know what happened at this point, Derrick Henry had a field day as the Ravens ended up beating the Bills 35-10. So, of course, the Ravens end up improving to 2-2. The Bills dropped to 3-1. They're still in pretty good shape overall, but they got exposed, and it was not even pretty.
No, it wasn't. But it feels like to me, every single time that the Bills play Derrick Henry, whether it's the Titans or the Ravens for that matter, Derrick Henry always has the Bills' number because everybody on the defensive pairings cannot figure this out. They cannot tackle him for anything. They can't stop the run. And the very first play of the game, as you know, I was in Baltimore, as I announced over the week. Immediately when Derrick Henry went for 80-something yards on that first drive for the Ravens, I said to myself, this is going to be a long night.
Yeah, and we tried to make a run towards the end of the first half, but our defensive line was just getting eaten alive. And here's the thing that happened. Apparently, it was so bad to the point where we actually ended up signing a defensive tackle, Zion Logue, off the Falcons practice squad this past week, 6'6", 314. I'm like, there you go.
Boy.
Yeah, you actually throw some damn size in the line for a change.
Yeah, for once.
Yeah, seriously.
But I don't think they brought him in just for that. I think it's because he's filling a void because for some of you, and I'm sure most of you heard, is Von Miller is serving a 4-game suspension for a policy that was brought up several years ago. I forget what it was. I think it was called the NFL's conduct policy.
Yeah, personal conduct policy. So
that's what it was.
So, holy shit, you're actually drinking a beer on camera for a first time, and I can't even remember how long. There you go. Oh, you're drinking. Oh, okay. Well, that's all right. Well, we were there at the Budweiser Brewery a couple years ago when we went to Kansas City. That was a good time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
And free beer.
Yeah, and dude, I went to the Guinness factory in Baltimore not that long ago, and I got to try 4 different German beer for Oktoberfest, which was pretty fun, actually. And I do go into detail about that part of the trip in Road to 32. And by the way, for those of you who are looking for the Baltimore Ravens Road to 32, be patient. I'm in the middle of working on it as we speak. I am currently on the 3rd chapter of this episode, and I will probably be publishing it probably by the end of the week, hopefully.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many you got in there? 6 of them, I think, usually?
6 what?
Chapters?
It really depends on the trip because all the chapters are based on the days.
Right.
That's really what it is. I don't go by a certain amount of chapters in a video. It's based on how long it is. Now, for example, the Florida Panthers video I made back in March.
Yeah.
I think it was 3 or 4 chapters, and it was because it was literally on the day I came into Florida, and I took an indirect flight to Miami and took an Uber, and it was just jammed in traffic and all that jazz. So I tried to kill the time and all that, and it was a very short episode. But if it was longer, then obviously it would be very different.
Right. Yeah, good point. Good point. But I was going to say, with your experience there, I mean, I'm not going to rehash all the stats because Josh Allen had a brutal night. Bass had a field goal blocked, so that happened. I mean, obviously the defense got eaten alive by Derrick Henry, so we won't rehash every single stat known to mankind. Although I'm still glad I won all my fantasy games this week, so it's like, all right, well at least I'm back in the Horns and Hooves playoffs, so that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
But kind of fill us in on the experience that you had at M&T Bank Stadium, because I know that's like one of those places that a lot of people consider to be really good to go to, especially in the league.
Okay, so there is a mouthful that I do want to say about Baltimore, and I actually have a story that you don't even know about yet that I want to tell the audience.
Okay.
And I don't know if you don't mind me telling the
Yeah,
story.
of course. Go
So
for it.
okay, so I'll tell you about my experience in Baltimore first. So I did a lot on this trip. So I went to the B&O Railroad Museum, which stands for Baltimore and Ohio, and the Railroad Museum, like I did in Toronto, with you and I did several
Mhm.
months ago. Um, I also went to the Guinness factory in Baltimore, and I also got to eat blue crabs. Yeah, literally like Baltimore style, blue crabs and a little bit and all that jazz. It was great. But we also went to the Maryland Zoo. It was a cute little zoo. We went there on the first day, and 3 of the 4 days that we were in Baltimore, it was raining. So we didn't really get a chance to get a lot of sunshine. But the one day of the week we got sunshine was on that Saturday, which is when we went to the Guinness factory. But as far as the atmosphere in the city, everybody there was so nice. I mean, everybody was very welcoming. Everybody was like, "Hey, welcome to Baltimore" and all that jazz. And the ride from me to Baltimore from Long Island is about 3.5, 4 hours. And no, just generally though, like Baltimore was just a really nice city. It was a very warming, welcoming city. But there were some areas that we should have never have been brought into to begin with, because Baltimore is a dangerous city in general, but you want to be careful when you're down there because it's one of the most violent cities in America.
Mhm.
So I had to be careful when I was down there. But as far as the atmosphere of M&T Bank Stadium, I would say as of right now, it is a top three stadium in my book for Road to 32. As of
Interesting.
right now. Yeah,
Interesting.
as of right now, it's a top three stadium until someone else comes in, which I don't know when that is yet, but at some point in like 5 years from now or whatever. But M&T Bank is a really nice stadium. They're doing major renovations inside and outside of the interior and the exterior and the interior of M&T Bank Stadium. It's a really nice stadium. Um, it feels a lot like when we went to Philadelphia back in November.
Mhm.
It was a very groundbreaking looking stadium, and they're very fan friendly. So they're doing a lot of interaction with the fans and all that stuff. Like they get the fans involved with a lot of what they do at the games. And the interesting thing I learned when I was in Baltimore is I had a Ravens fan come up to me that my wife apparently got to be acquainted with,
Mhm.
and they told us was a lot of times when the Ravens are on primetime games, they don't usually get them at home. They're usually on the road when they get the primetime games.
Okay.
But when it's in Baltimore, they treat it like it's a college football game or like the biggest thing since like the Super Bowl, because they don't get that many primetime games at home. Like
Nice.
this past week, for example, was a prime example of what they do. So everybody's tailgating. There's like a street fair, which I want to get to in a bit. And no, there was a lot of people that I got to meet that were really friendly. I got to meet Mark Ingram, by the way.
Ooh, very cool. And actually, you'll have to tell us about that in just a moment because I think we got Rob from Nickel City Crew here with us. How you doing?
What's going on, Tom? What's going on, Bobby? How you guys doing tonight?
What's
Doing
up, Rob? How you
doing
doing today?
good, man. Nice for you to join us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks
Yeah,
for the invite.
yeah,
Always good to
and
talk some Bills football.
yeah, and you're in the first half of the show, so you actually made it up in the world.
Well, I am honored. Thank you very much,
Good
fellas.
stuff,
How you guys
man.
doing tonight? You guys are good?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So yeah, we're just hearing a little bit about Bobby's trip to Baltimore. He was there for the shit show that we experienced this past Sunday night, but um,
Oh, Bobby, I'm so sorry. I'm
Shit
sorry, man.
happens. It could be worse,
Yeah,
right?
no,
yeah,
it's funny that the Bills or whatever they had. They haven't suffered a loss over 6 points since the Indianapolis game in the regular season 3 years ago, and I was at that game, Bobby. So I feel for you because I drove all the way back to Charlotte, mad as hell. That
I was gonna say
Jonathan Taylor ran all over us that day, and I was mad as a rattlesnake.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, at least when you were up here last time, at least you got to see a good win. So,
Yeah,
I know that's
absolutely.
about a 1,300 something mile round trip for you.
1,300 miles round trip, and you're absolutely right. But I've seen my fair share of wins and losses, so that's all just part of the dedication. When you get season tickets, you never know what you're going to get. So I just want to be in the house. But yes, it was really nice, the home opener. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, for anyone who doesn't know, Rob's actually one of the hosts with Nickel City Crew. He's on YouTube and all the platforms, of course. His show is on Thursday nights at 6 p.m. and he goes live. So, of course, we started streaming it on our Horns and Hooves page as well. So, of course, you can check it out. And him and his host Dump Truck, they have some good stuff that they talk about. They usually go at least an hour or so. And really, what we want to do before we get back into Bobby's story, and we'll cover some more football as well. Give us some thoughts of what you saw this past Sunday, because obviously Derrick Henry is still a problem for most teams to stop.
He really is, Tom, to be honest. It was funny because when I was thinking about this game, as the week goes on, you start to calm down a little bit more and become less hyperbolic. And, they're just a great team at what they do. And I really said it in the offseason when they signed Derrick Henry. I said that they're really a better fit for player and team than Derrick Henry with the Ravens. I mean, the way that they run the ball, the way that they are committed to the run with Lamar Jackson, it just seemed like it was going to be a match made in heaven. And obviously the Bills got the brunt of that on Sunday night. But, I mean, he's ageless. He's going to go into the Hall of Fame one day because of it. They say running backs, decline when they get to 30, and he's defying father time right now, and he looks just every bit as explosive. I think they said he hit 22 miles an hour or something crazy like that. On that
something like 21.8
play.
or 22. I mean, it's right around there. I mean,
It's just wild.
It is absolutely
It's wild.
crazy.
I mean, he looks like he did at Alabama. He looks like how he did at Tennessee, and he doesn't seem to be slowing down. So they've got the best team for exactly what they do, and he fits in perfectly. So I knew that it was going to be a problem in that respect. I didn't obviously think that we were going to get boat raced the way we did, but I think the injuries on defense just catching up with us. And we talked about it on Nickel City Crew last week, just how, we're getting away with it, but, you're not going to get away with it forever. And TC was saying that it's not going to doesn't matter, and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, you get away with it right now, but it won't be forever. So it was just interesting to see how that all played out Sunday night.
Right, and then with Von Miller getting suspended, with the news coming out the other day, and now we ended up signing defensive tackle Zion Logue from the Falcons. I mean, it definitely gives us some great size that we need up on the line because 6'6", 314. I mean, that's a big upgrade there. But one of the things that we're looking towards, especially with this coming week, what are some of your thoughts in terms of what you feel the Bills need to do? And actually, I'll throw this out to Bobby too. What are some of your thoughts for what we need, how we need to approach and kind of regroup with this game?
Well, I mean, I think that you might want to ask that question and pose it on social media on Friday. Let's see what the injuries are like. I mean, if Khalil Shakir is out, we all saw how he wasn't really effective after that ankle injury.
Yep.
They taped it up, tried to get him back out there, and he just wasn't the same the rest of the game. That's going to be a big factor. I know, everybody eats, so to speak, and that little moniker, or everybody snacks. That's going to be put to the test this week because of the fact that, you're going to need all of your weapons for a team like Houston. Houston can put up points. Obviously, the Bills are, second in the league in points scored and stuff like that. So we've got a great offense ourselves in respect to scoring points and putting them on the board. But I think it's all going to get tested this week. You're going to have to keep up with C.J. Stroud. You're going to have to put up sustainable drives. They don't give up a lot of stuff cheap with D'Amico Ryans as their coach, and he's a defensive coach like McDermott is. So I think it's going to be key for them to see how healthy they are. Maybe Terrell Bernard gets back. That'd be a boost. Maybe I don't think Terrence Johnson's coming back this week. It seems like he's still in that cast or whatever the case may be. But I think it's going to be really key to watch to see how the offense works because everybody can't play defense like Baltimore does. And I know that they were really sticky in their coverage. Everybody's not going to be like that. But Houston is another good defensive team, so you're going to have to be on your P's and Q's.
Yeah, and actually another thing I want to bring up, and Bobby, feel free to chime in also. Nico Collins, which thank God I drafted him because he brought me to the promised land in all three of my fantasy games this week. So
He's a monster.
Nico Collins, he is a monster wide receiver. And then of course you got to worry about Diggs too because I mean the thing is you have both threats. You have both threats to worry about. But
Houston has no run game. That's the issue.
that's the problem.
Yeah, Houston is in deep shit on the run game. No Joe Mixon or Damian Pierce. And neither one of them, from what it sounds like, is I read the practice report. It said that neither one were practicing. And if I'm remotely convinced that neither one are going to be playing again because they're both injured. So it's going to force the Texans to continually play the passing game, which the Bills have done in the last couple of years, have been exposing the secondary for a lot of teams. Because you're playing man-to-man coverage 9 times out of 10, there's a pretty good chance that, you're going to have somebody playing as a blind secondary guy that's going to just try to take the ball away. And that was something that Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer were very good at for many, many years, as they were able to disguise the plays and then have one guy play man coverage and the other one come in and swoop the ball away. That's what they wore back in the day. So I think even though Taron Johnson is not going to likely play, like Rob was saying, I don't think that it's the end of the world. I think that, mess bad up. You have a very deep team, but people just don't seem to realize that. But the Bills always have these gems that are just kind of rolling out in their practice squad, and they're just waiting to come out.
Good point.
Yeah, I mean, but the depth is getting tested now, though, Bobby. Like the depth is about to get tested. I mean, we saw it last week. They worked that middle of the field. The run game, it's starting to catch up with us. The starters are starters for a reason. So I understand what you're saying, that the Bills seem to have depth and they seem to get the best out of those guys. But just playing devil's advocate, you eventually your guys, your starters need to be out there because it can catch up with you like it did last Sunday. That's all. So I'm a little bit concerned, but we'll see. I'm more concerned about the offense than the defense. I think Houston's going to put up some points. Joe Mixon was running well in the beginning of the year. He was leading the league in rushing, and then he got hurt. So we'll see how that works out. But I'm more concerned about the Bills' offense. I think Houston's going to score their points. We know Stephon Diggs is going to be motivated. I think would be would be a
Stephon Diggs is always motivated about something,
right? Oh man! Just real quick, Bobby, you're gonna love this. The Mets are beating the Brewers 3-1 in the top of the third.
Yep, that's right. I mean, I got the game out of the background, so thankfully for that. But no, so if the Mets beat the Brewers in game 2 of the National League Wildcard Series, they'll play the Philadelphia Phillies over the weekend in the NLDS, which they would be very, very exciting. And I'm hoping, and I'm just, crossing my fingers here, is that if there is a home game for the Mets during the playoffs, I'm going to try my best to go, although it's not a guarantee, because I already saw the starting price for a ticket to a Mets playoff game is like $250.
Well, it's the playoffs, man. You're gonna have to shell out.
Yeah, I'm not saying I wouldn't.
Yeah. But, yeah, playoffs ain't cheap, man. But,
Never have, never will be.
right.
I mean, I've never done a Mets game in the playoffs, but I have done Islander games in the past in the playoffs. But my sister-in-law went to the World Series. I think it was game 3 in the 2015 World Series against the Royals, and the Mets won that game. And that was the only game they won in the series at the time. But no, she was telling me that was a great experience to be there. But I do have in a jar in my house, and you've seen it, Tom, is I have a jar of dirt from the World Series at Citi Field.
Nice.
Yeah, so
That's pretty sweet.
yeah, it's pretty cool actually. But I definitely
How
want
was
to.
Baltimore? How was Baltimore? Were the fans nice to you? Like, what was that experience like? Out there?
I'm glad you asked that because I'll say it like this, Rob. Are you talking about like in my entire trip in Baltimore, or are you talking about like the Ravens game?
Well, I didn't know how long you were there. Okay, so you went up for you made a whole weekend out of it.
I was there for 4 days. I was there Friday afternoon to Monday afternoon. I was there for, but no, I did a lot in Baltimore. I went to the Maryland Zoo. It was like 2.5 hours on the first day, and then we went to the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad Museum, and we also went to the Guinness Factory, and we went to a place called Nick's Fish House, which we ate blue crab pretty much the entire evening with some friends. And then we went to the Ravens game, and then the next day we went to Fort McHenry, on Monday before we left to go home. But as far as like the atmosphere in Baltimore, and I was telling Tom this for a little bit, and I actually have a story that I want to share with you guys.
Yeah, go for it.
And I know we were off track a little bit, but I definitely want to tell it. Is the atmosphere in Baltimore at the Ravens game, the fans were so generous. They were very welcoming, and they pointed out all kinds of stuff at us. And they said, "Oh, you got to get this. You got to go take a look at that." They were very, very generous. And there is actually something I want to address, and this is actually the story. So, have any of you, Tom and Rob, have any of you heard of something called Ravens Walk?
I've seen some
Nope.
pictures of it, but I don't know a whole lot about it.
What's that?
Okay. Okay. So for the audience out there, Ravens Walk is a block party, and it starts right on Utah Street, right in front of Camden Yards, and it ends in the very beginning of the front gates of M&T Bank Stadium. So basically, what they have is concession stands and tents and things like that for the fans. It's a giant block party, and it goes on all day on opening day. And the big thing I learned, Rob, when I was in Baltimore is the Ravens, a lot of times when they get primetime games, they don't get a chance to host it at home because a lot of times they're on the road. So when they do get a primetime game in Baltimore, they treat it like it's the Super Bowl, which is insane to me. But here's the cool part. So when I mentioned Ravens Walk, I was mentioning the concession stands and the tents and all that jazz. There was a tent on my right going into M&T Bank Stadium. And this is like the beginning of it, basically. And Britt and I were walking, and I see this little tent on my right, and there was a guy selling stuff like, autographed helmets and whatnot. And he had what was these little plastic, like commemorative tickets from that game, this past weekend. And they're not my seats or my section at the time, but it said something like row 9, section 24, something like that. So we got 4 of these. And the next thing you know, we met another Ravens fan, and she came up to us because she had the one that was from like January when they played the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. She says, "Excuse me, where did you guys get those?" And I said, "Oh, I pointed at the tent behind me and all that." And she notices in one of the stubs, there's a little piece of paper, like regular paper. And she's like, "Sir, flip over your ticket. There's something on there." So I flip it, right? And as soon as I flip it, I see a little strip and it says golden ticket. So I take that golden ticket back to the guy who gave me the commemorative tickets to begin with, and I didn't know what the purpose was. So I go back to the guy and I said, "Excuse me, sir, I don't mean to bother you again, but I got this golden ticket in one of the tickets, and I wasn't sure if this was part of the thing or not, and I wanted to give it back to you." So the guy said, "No, it's part of it. So what I'm going to do is give me the ticket." And I thought at that time I did something wrong, and I felt guilty about it at first. And then he's like, "No, you're not in trouble." So I give him the ticket and all that, and he comes back with a white piece of envelope. There's nothing on there. It's just like a little clip, like metal clip when you open like letters and all that.
Hmm.
So he gives me a white envelope that's about maybe this big, I would say about maybe the size of a cardboard box. So I take the cardboard box, or not the box, I take the envelope and I open it and I put my hand in there. And the next thing you know, I'm pulling out an 8x10 autograph picture of Patrick Ricard on the Baltimore Ravens.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah, I got a
Ooh, that
free
is nice.
autograph from the Baltimore Ravens. And
Damn.
the thing that was crazy to me was we took an Uber, and I had no fucking clue that I was going to be walking out of M&T Bank Stadium with an autograph. So I said, "Okay, what do I do?" So I went to the Ravens store that was out at Ravens Walk, and I said, "I need to get this bag." And it has a little Ravens logo, so we're going to put a Bills logo over it. But I took the bag and I put all of our stuff in there. So they had like Ravens lanyards, Ravens keychains, Ravens koozies, Ravens this, Ravens that. So we had like a whole bag of necessities from the Baltimore Ravens, and we brought it home for Road to 32. So I was just like, I can't believe that actually happened. Just my luck, where I'm in another team stadium, and yet here I am with an autograph of a player who I knew about, but didn't fully know who he was. And I
Nice.
took it and I said, "Wow, I'm very surprised that I have it."
Now that is
That's pretty cool.
sweet. Yeah, that is
That's
sweet.
pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. Be interesting actually. Well, and Rob, I don't think you remember some of the backstory on this too. Bobby does, because actually I was in a promo with Northtown Automotive, which is the car company that the Bills are sponsored by, actually. So I actually did get to meet Greg Russo in his first year, and actually got to meet him on site at Northtown Toyota out in Amherst, and I actually have a few pictures with him, and I will tell you, he is one big dude standing next to him, but one of the
They
coolest
don't
guys
call
I've
him
met.
Groot for nothing.
Yeah, he's like 6'6", 6'7", but no, I've got his autographed picture sitting in my office here next to my Craig Anderson final game autograph. That was a limited edition setup that one of our ex Starpoint friends actually got me a copy of, so that was actually pretty sweet. But no, it's a good time though. Anytime that you can run into that, and actually, here's a name I'll throw at you, Rob. Brad Farnham is one of our viewers down in Louisville, Kentucky, watching. So he's like, there's a name I haven't heard in a while. So he says hi also.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. What's up, Brad? Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
It's it's funny, like you said, when you reached out, like it brought back so many memories for
Yeah,
sure.
it's good stuff. Yeah, plus I was gonna say, once I move, you got a place you can crash in too. And I mean, I got the big ass TV, and I have a beer fridge, so we're all good. And actually, Brad says hi back to you too. So that's all good to
Absolutely.
go. But yeah, but let's cover the NFL real quick too, because we do have a couple other things, and we'll jump into some hockey and baseball as we're going forward. But one of the big things that ended up happening, of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars are still a mess. The Miami Dolphins are still a mess, so that's great to see. And the Giants are basically to the point where I don't even know why they kept Danny Dimes the way they did. But Atlanta is getting Super Bowl 62 in 2028 at the Dome.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, it's been confirmed that the Atlanta Falcons are going to be getting Super Bowl 62 in 2028 at the Mercedes-Benz Dome.
Ooh, that's a nice place down there too.
It is.
Really
And the
nice.
funny thing about Atlanta is that it's a possible candidate for 2025 for Road 32.
That's true. That's one of the places you've already mentioned.
Yeah, for sure. So Rob, I have a question for you. Because Tom already knows this, because he's been to a handful of road games with the Bills, have you ever seen the Bills in another city not named Buffalo, New York?
Well, he's in Charlotte,
Yeah.
so I
So
gotta say that at least.
yeah. So I did. Yeah. When the Bills were down here, I don't know, however long ago it was for an actual regular season game. Yes, I attended. I mean, they come to the preseason. It seems like every other couple of years or something like that. So I was at the preseason game a couple of years ago when they the day that they had actually cut Matariza was the preseason game. I took all the kids down there and stuff like that. So we were there for preseason. But that last regular season game, man, you'd have to look it up on Pro Football Reference. But it was some years ago. A good buddy of mine was around. He passed away. And yeah, it had to be 8 years. It had to be at least 8. When did we play Carolina last? We played them last year, right?
Something like that,
I think
maybe.
Did we play Carolina last year? No, might have played them 2 years ago, which means you take off, 8 years from that, and it would have
Right.
been,
It's
what I
like
mean, the last
every
time
other
that we were
year.
in Carolina. Yeah, it's every 4 year rotation, and then it's home and home. You know what I mean? So I think it was
Right.
like 8 years ago before that. But yes, I did see the Bills live, real game, regular season down here in Charlotte at Bank of America Stadium. I did.
Nice.
There you go.
Now that's the only time I don't go. I've got season tickets to the Bills. I don't go to away games. Me and Dump Truck were talking about going to one away game this year, and then a monkey wrench got thrown into that when with the birth of my daughter this month.
Right.
So I skipped my season tickets this year. So that's why the home opener was such a big deal for me, because that was the only game I was going to this year. And but yeah, I've seen them play down here in Charlotte. I have.
Good stuff. Well, hey, congratulations on the birth of your daughter, man. Because I know you were filling me in about that, and hopefully everyone's doing well. Good to hear. And I know you got your sons down there too, and I know they're gonna treat her well. So that's awesome.
Yeah, they got to protect her.
Yes, they do.
They got to protect her with
Yeah,
that.
she's got 3 bodyguards and you. So
Yep, she's gonna be well protected. Yep, she's
Yep.
coming up in a couple weeks, so
For
we're
sure.
all very excited. So thank you.
Good, no problem. Yeah, and then we'll touch on a couple of other things too. I mean, Hassan Reddick's looking to go back to Philly, but then who knows what'll happen there? And then, of course, Adams and Hill, there's receiver trade rumors, and of course now the NFL wants more international games. And why the hell do they want more international games?
Well, the funny thing about that whole international game thing is they were talking about, I believe it was Ireland they were talking about. They're talking about Ireland, France, and Australia in the very near future, according to Executive Vice President Peter O'Reilly. And a flight from New York, let's say from New York to Australia, it takes nearly a full day. So for the Bills, if they ever get elected again to go and play in these international games, there's a pretty strong chance that they're going to probably have to get it ahead of time and play these games because they really want to expand the game. And I completely understand that, but you have to do it when it's necessary. So going to countries like Ireland and Australia, I don't know if that's going to benefit the league by any means.
NFL is so greedy. I just don't put anything past them, Bobby. I mean, they'll do anything for money, in that respect, and they know they want to spread out this game and want to make it global. They want to be basketball, really, is what they want to do, and find a way to be the NBA, which will never happen. Number one, because it's just a different sport, and the way that basketball is so easily relatable across the globe, it just will never happen. But they keep pushing the envelope. I know Brazil, I heard, was a disaster with the field conditions down there, and they didn't want half the guys to wear green because of gangs and shit like that, and had the guys all locked up in the hotels, so they weren't even really experiencing Brazil at all. They just went to a hotel after they took that long ass flight. So I've long since stopped being surprised by anything the NFL does. They know they're king. They're the number one entertainment sports product, and they're gonna squeeze every ounce they can out of everything. So they'll go anywhere, I bet.
Oh yeah, 100%, they will, and of course they're gonna keep doing it. But on the flip side, though, before we switch into hockey and actually we'll do just a tiny bit of baseball coverage here also. I was gonna tell you, man, they started putting the upper deck in the new stadium. So I don't know if you've been following some of the construction videos on YouTube, but they're already getting that upper level in there, so it's kind of interesting to see how freaking tall and how steep that deck's going to be.
It's crazy, fellas. I mean, and the funny thing, I just admitted this on Nickel City Cruise last week. I went all the way up there, drove the 650 miles there,
Yep.
went to the game, had a great time at the tailgate. I swear, hand to God, I did not even look at the new stadium as I was walking in or out of the Ralph. And, it wasn't on purpose or anything like that. It just, I was having a great time before the tailgate, didn't think about it. Then when we were leaving the game, didn't think about it. And I literally didn't even glance over to look at it. And that was, I found that kind of funny and ironic. But yes, I have seen those videos. I know they did a night video as well with like a drone and stuff like that. And that was really cool. Just amazing, what these construction workers can do and how they can, with the cranes and stuff like that, how they can make this thing come to life. But it's looking like a stadium. You can see the bones of the stadium, and it looks like it's going to be a palace. I mean, from everything that they tell us with the renderings, it looks like it's going to be something really, truly great and special. Now, it's going to be expensive for people like me, season ticket holders. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to go from the Ralph to
the
the
good
new
old
Ralph,
PSLs now, like you got down
not
in
living
Charlotte.
in Charlotte and PSLs and plus travel. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make that leap with them. So next year might be my last year of season ticket.
Gotcha.
I'll probably just go to the home opener every year and then just watch from Charlotte because they're going to price a lot of people out. But on a positive note, it's supposed to look wonderful. But I think they're going to price a lot of people out.
Yeah, for sure. Which I will say, man, if you do come up to the home opener next year, let me know, and definitely would love to hang out, have some beers with you. And,
no, I'm getting seasons. I'm getting my seasons back.
There you go.
Back next year. That's the finale year. I gotta have my season ticket.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to do some
little
stuff.
Baby girl will be older, so I can do it. Yeah, I'll get back on. Only time I've ever skipped was when my kids were born.
Yep.
But I've been rocking with the Bills since 2009.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yep. Yeah, I was gonna say. I remember when he was up here last year. Actually, we ended up going to that Dallas game, the rain game, and we had that nice mile walk through the freaking woods over to the lot. So.
And it was raining.
Oh my gosh.
Like hell.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of rain, when I was in Baltimore, it was raining for 3 of the 4 days. So the only day of my trip that I was getting sunlight was around Saturday afternoon when I went to the Guinness factory and Nick's Fish House for blue crab.
Really?
Like literally, that was like the only time I was ever getting like some sort of like sunlight. But it was raining during the Ravens game, and it was partly cloudy during the Ravens game. So I got a mixture of both. So I wanted to just throw that out there real quick.
Right, cool. Good stuff.
That's pretty cool.
Well, what else?
Blue crab. I mean, you should have got some crab. You should have got some nice seafood down there, man. I mean, that's the place to be for sure.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. We're definitely doing seafood and different things when we go to Pacific Northwest in about a month, or actually less than a month. We're going out to Seattle for week 8. So that's
3 weeks.
that's
You're
our
going
big
to the
game
game?
of the year. Yeah. Yeah, 2 of us are
Oh,
flying
that's
out there.
awesome.
I'm taking
That's
fuckhead here
awesome.
with me to Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome though, man. Like, you got to make sure you go to the little fish market district
That's what we're
and have
doing.
them throw you some
Yeah.
Yeah.
fish in the paper and stuff,
Yep.
man. That's so
Pike
cool,
Place
man. When I see
Market.
that.
That's definitely on
Yeah,
our
man,
list.
that place is so cool, man.
Yeah.
That is really cool. Enjoy yourself out there. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's
Really?
got to be a fun trip.
Yeah, we're only staying about 8 blocks from there, so I mean, we're right in downtown Seattle and literally 15 minutes from Lumen Field. So, and actually only a mile and a half from the Space Needle and Climate Pledge Arena, which we're going to check out one of the Kraken games when we're there. Also, the night we fly in. So
And we're going to a Vancouver
That's awesome.
Canucks
yeah,
game.
and we're going to Vancouver, Canada for a day too. So we're going to check out the Canucks when they
Oh,
play up
man.
there. So we got 3 games
You're
going
hitting it
on
all, man.
that weekend.
Yeah, you're hitting it all.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's awesome, man.
And then when I fly
Enjoy
home,
yourself
I'm
out there
moving.
because that should be fun.
So, right. And so it'll be nice. I'm gonna have like a week and a half off of work, so it use up my time, and I can relocate at the same time. So it's all good. But
That's sweet.
but I do love the fact, at least where I am gonna be though, I'll be right up in Niagara Falls, right near everything, new places, like perfect location. So, and like literally 25 minutes from downtown if I want to catch Sabres, or just a little bit further if I want to hit the Bills. So it's really easy to get to. So definitely looking forward with that.
Awesome.
But I was gonna say,
Congratulations.
yeah, thanks, and of course you're invited when you come up. So, but what we'll do is we're gonna switch into the second half. Of course, if you guys want to join us, we are live on YouTube and Facebook, and of course you can check us out on Spotify if you want to catch our old episodes. And if you want to call in like Rob did here, give us a shout. 929-205-6099 gets you on the air, and of course meeting info is on YouTube and Facebook. So I was gonna say, Rob, you want to stick around for some hockey and baseball, or what's she up to?
I will stick around for a little bit of hockey.
got it.
Baseball's not really my cup of tea, but I will stick around for a little bit of hockey.
You got
I
it.
guess I can put on my hat for you guys because you guys are way more plugged in than I am about the Sabres in that respect. Now I'm plugged in just because it's Buffalo, but you know what I mean. I'm more of a 30,000-foot view type fan. Now my middle son is a Sabres fanatic. He played his first season of hockey last season
Nice.
down here in Charlotte, which is it's tough though. It's hard because there's only one rink. It's the South, so there's only one rink. There's no multiple rinks and stuff like that to do like you can back in Western New York. And so he's a big time Sabres fan, and I just feel so bad for him because they haven't been able to be good his entire life. What do you guys think about this season? I guess the first question I wanted to pose to both of you, Bobby, and you as well, Tom. Like, how did you guys view like the Lindsey Ruff thing? Like, did you view it like Ted Nolan 2.0, or do you think he's got something left in the tank to give this team?
So I know Bobby's gonna have a lot to say about this, and I know we've covered it on the show before. And,
Oh, you have? Sorry.
And
Sorry.
no, it's all good. No, it's a good point to bring up because actually, the preseason has been a lot better than what I expected so far. I think we were like 5-1 in the preseason, so we played really
Yeah,
well.
we only lost one game with our backup.
Yeah,
Mhm.
which actually worked out really well. Initially, I was thinking, okay, why is Ruff coming back after all the time he was here? And I mean, he had lost the locker room at the time, like right before he was fired. At the same time, I get it. It was like the safe pick, basically, for what the Sabres management was thinking. And I know that Kevin Adams we had speculated he really didn't go outside the organization at all. He basically just like, okay, well, we'll just go with who we know. And some of the coaches that we had thought about in the past that could have been a good fit, Gerard Gallant, who had a really nice run with the Vegas Golden Knights before he was canned after having the one non-winning season, but he was an example, and there were a few others we threw out there. I mean, we even thought about someone like a Tortorella type coach that would light a fire under their ass and everything. But apparently, the team has been responding well, and they've been playing well. I mean, defensively, they look 100% better than what we saw last year, and they simplified the system. Offensively, they're being much more creative. We have a good fourth line now, which is a legit energy line that we need. So some of the things that I've noticed with that, with Obi Cabell, Sam Lafferty, and then, of course, Malenstein as well. Those three have been meshing pretty well, and the defensive pairings have been looking good. As long as Samuelson stays healthy, I think we'll be good. Dowling, of course, was named the captain, so that's one thing we'll talk a little bit about. I mean, that I think it's a pretty good pick. And as long as our goaltending can stay fine, and as long as defensively we can keep the puck out of our own zone, we're going to be fine. And that's what we did for most of the games that we've had so far. We've been keeping it out of our zone, and we've been dominating in the opposition. So that's a big plus.
So fine equals playoffs, though, right? Because obviously we're in this longest drought in the league. So
I want to see the playoffs.
Right? Fine means playoffs, right?
Yeah, I definitely want to see the playoffs. But one other thing I'm noticing too, not only I mean, JJ Peterka is really coming into his own. He is definitely somebody to watch this year, and I think Thompson's going to really turn it back up again, and certainly looking forward to seeing that. And I know now with UPL being the number one, I remember watching him in the prospects tournament his very first year, and we actually we went live from the Harbor Center that year when they were doing that. Actually, me and one of our
You and Doug Lawson.
Yeah, Doug Lawson, and we actually got featured on the Jumbotron all season that year too. We did a little promo for it, but that being said, UPL finally not hurt. He's actually playing well. He's developed. Of course, that's going to be the same thing we'll see in Rochester this year too. But I mean, overall, there's a lot I like. And I also really am enjoying the fact that we're playing physical hockey again too. We're actually hitting players in the corners, and we're not afraid now to drop the gloves. And that's something that's been missing from this team for a long time.
What about you, Bobby? How did you view Lindy Ruff? Because I mean, I from a 30,000-foot view, like I said, I thought that it was. I mean, I think that he had a lot of success with the Devils, so and Dallas. So I didn't think that it was more of a Ted Nolan 2.0, but I definitely could get that argument because I think Tom's exactly right. I don't think Kevin Adams really went too far outside the organization. I think he wanted familiarity, and obviously somebody he knows really well. What did you think about the hire? Was it Nolan 2.0, or is this like was this a legit hire? How'd you feel about it?
When Lindy got hired, Rob, just for context, I did not want him coming back here, not because I didn't like the guy. I always liked Lindy, but I told Tom this numerous times last season and this season on both episodes of Buffalo After Dark. And when Lindy got hired, I said, I want somebody else who has brought in new, fresh ideas and brings accountability. And I felt that there were other coaches that were available at the time that could have been the runner-up for the candidacy. But I felt like the hire for bringing back Lindy was just lazy to me. But based on what Tom was saying, earlier about preseason, now I don't get excited about preseason, and I never have. But and I'm just being real here, and that is that a lot of the players are starting to respond to his system, which is great because they've been begging for a coach that would bring accountability to the table. And Lindy was probably the only guy, realistically, that could bring accountability because a lot of coaches in the NHL, I think within the last 10 years or so, have really started to soften down on players because of the new generation and all that jazz. But I feel, with somebody else in mind, I would have rather have someone like that come and play rather than Lindy because the thing is, and this works in the NFL as well, is second stint coaches don't pan out. And I feel like this could very well be the same thing with Lindy. But I wanted someone like Gerard Gallant or Sheldon Keefe, someone like that. But it was never presented to them. They didn't even bother to interview those guys. So I kind of just sat back and I said, all right, if Lindy's going to be here, I have no choice, but I have to give him a chance. And right now, they're really thriving under a system. But I'm not going to judge the team fully until at least mid-November. Because that's when you have enough time to fully adjust and say, okay, what does this team need to work on? What are their weaknesses? What do they got to do? What do they have? And, work with what they have here. That's how I feel.
No, that's fair. No, that's fair. And hockey's different than football. There's, so many games for basketball and football, 82 games. So it's definitely, that's fair to take that kind of assessment later in the year. I wasn't mad about it or anything like that. Like I said, I was just more concerned and just wondering, because like I said, I'm a casual fan, because they're Buffalo and because it's the Sabres and I want to see it, but they haven't been good for so long that like I kind of tuned them out. You know what I mean? So I was just wondering what the real fans like you guys thought. But I'm excited about it. I know that the I know that what you just talked about, Bobby. Like I know that they asked for accountability. I remember Tuck talking about something like that, like how they wanted to be coached hard and stuff like that. So I knew that Lindy was going to bring that.
Yeah.
I just didn't know like what you guys thought of it, but those are some good points. I'm more just wake me up when they break the drought. You know what I mean? Like,
right. No,
how I look at it, like wake me up when they break the drought. Like can I get some playoff hockey? Can I get excited? For a series and all that type of stuff. See the Plaza again. Just thinking about the 06, 07 Sabres.
Yeah.
Those are some of the best times to be a Sabres fan. Obviously, besides the Cup run, and it's just been so long that like I don't even talk to some of the same people that I talked to the last time that they made the playoffs. Like my life is so much different. You know what I mean? And I remember being down here in Charlotte to go watch them play. I guess it was the Philly, right? I think it was Philly, and going to the bar and going to the Bills bar down here and watching the games and stuff like that and just enjoying the atmosphere. And it's just been so long that, like I said, I can admit that I have kind of tuned the Sabres out in that respect.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, Rob, I definitely had one of probably your favorites, beef on weck tonight, homemade.
Very nice.
Had to do
Very
it.
Nice.
That was my Wegmans trip tonight. Get American Kobe beef and get like nice weck roll, load it up all on there real good. And that was some good eating tonight. But,
you're making me jealous, man. You're making me jealous. Nothing like that down here in Charlotte. Nothing close,
well, you don't have Wegmans yet, but you are getting one, I think, in the next 2
they
years.
Are getting it. Yeah,
so you are getting one.
In Greensboro, and yes, the one's coming to Charlotte. So that's going to be the talk of the town. There are tons of Western New Yorkers down here, so I know it's going to be a hit.
Yeah, unless you want to take like the 3-hour trip to Raleigh, but in the
meantime. No. Yeah, Raleigh, that's where it is. But yeah, no. They're coming to Charlotte. They've already got their plans set up, and yes, it's on the other side of town. But either way, it's going to be a hit. I know it.
And I will tell you, from being in Wegmans stores in Virginia, in Maryland, and I have family that lives in D.C., so I've had the opportunity to go to some of those. And I will tell you, they do sell the Buffalo stuff in there, so you can still get things like the Perry's ice cream, the Weber's horseradish mustard, all that stuff. So you can find the home favorites still there, and they do carry the Bills merch still.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So, what do you got before I duck out of here? So, what's your prediction for the season like? We're breaking the drought. I mean,
I think we can. Like right now, the early stuff I've seen, I will say it's been entertaining hockey finally for the first time in a long time. And I've been watching the preseason games, and part of being able to work from home, I can actually throw the preseason on in the background also a lot of times, and it's a lot of improvements I've seen, and especially now having good goaltending tandem with UPL and Devin Levi, he's going to get some time where he'll be able to hone himself. I think we're in a much better position, and I really like our top lines now. Paterka's emerged. Thompson is still going to be who he is, but as long as we can keep the defense healthy, and as long as we keep that legit fourth line, which this is the first time in years I can say we have a legit fourth line, I think we can break the drought. And as long as we stick to that system and do what we need to do, that's really the big thing. Plus, I like the fact he wants us to play physical, too. And that's going to be one of those things. Hurt your opponents in the corners. That's one of the things we've been missing for years.
What about you, Bobby?
I'm just gonna let the season play out. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna let it play out because here's the thing. Everybody, I'll say this. Yeah, I'll say that is that I'll let it play itself out because unlike this guy here who gets his dick sucked 3 times a week about the Sabres, I don't ride on that. I'm a realist. So when it comes to the Sabres, I'm just saying, okay, prove me wrong. That's all I'm asking. Prove me wrong that you guys are a good caliber playoff team. And if you don't succeed, I don't want to hear a fucking word about it because they've been saying for 14 fucking years, Robert, that they've been saying that, the Sabres are good. They're going to be a Stanley Cup contender. They're going to be this. They're going to be that. And then yet it's like a false prophecy. It's like politics. When you say, I'm going to do this, and you get elected and you get told, oh, I'm not going to do it, then what was the fucking point of electing you? It's the same thing with the Sabres. It's like, oh, you're bringing these good players. Oh, but you guys can make the playoffs. Oh, but you don't even fucking make it.
Tell us how you really feel.
I think
it's true,
I think
though.
Kevin, yes, thank you. That is funny. Tell me how you feel. I think Kevin Adams, I think he's in over his head. I've thought that, like I said, from a different view, but I've thought that he's in over his head. Like, so I don't know how he survives this if they don't make it work. I mean, I don't think Lindy obviously gets fired, but I think that they can bring in a new GM if there's, I mean, how many GMs get this long to figure it out? You know what I mean? And like, he hasn't had any elite talent in respects to like, big names. And I mean, obviously, if Steven Stamkos, he's old and
They
stuff
have
like
more
that. So I was never
GMs and
expecting that.
coaches. They have more GMs and coaches than Tom Brady does Super Bowls.
Yeah, I mean,
that's pretty wild when you put it that way.
I mean, Darcy
pretty
Regier
wild.
had 17 years, and he should have been fired after the whole Brewery Dreer fiasco where he let both of them walk for nothing. But he still got to survive
don't get us sad, because that was the last time they were good, and it really hasn't. Just like that's been one of the biggest mistakes for the Sabres. Is just after that happened, it just seems like the franchise just went down. So it'll be interesting to see. I'll watch when I can if they're on, and I'll pay attention. I know my ESPN Plus app, a lot of times the game's on, and I can check it out. And like I said, my middle son, my middle king Nate, he's definitely into them, so he always is checking to see what the Sabres are doing because he's in love with hockey now. But
definitely.
I'm not holding my breath just because it's been 12, 13, 14 years, whatever it is.
It's been a while.
So just wake me up. But I mean, I really appreciate you guys having me on tonight, Bobby and Tom. And like I said, check out, for all your audience, check out Nickel City Crew. I really appreciate you guys simulcasting the episodes for us. This week we might be having to go Friday. I think DT's got an engagement tomorrow for work, so but we'll put it out. We've always put it out on social media if something changes or anything like that. So, but I really appreciate you guys over there and supporting the show and stuff like that. So check out Nickel City Crew. You can check us out on all social media platforms at Nickel City Crew. We've got a new creative director. So you guys will notice that our online media presence is way better now because I have no fucking clue what I'm doing on Instagram or on Twitter. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. So we got a creative director that's been helping us out, and she's doing a bang-up job. So check us out, and I really appreciate you guys having me on tonight.
Yeah, of course. We appreciate you coming on as well, and of course you're welcome here anytime. And I will say, if you take your son to the KeyBank Center at some point, take a look at the big-ass new board they put in, because it's literally blue line to blue line now, man. They put in some good stuff, which I get to see next week.
I heard that it's pretty impressive. I literally just took him to their first game last year. So they went to their first regular season. My oldest two sons, Bobby and Nate, we went to the first Buffalo Bills regular season game. They've gone to the preseason Little Kids Day game before. And I paired it up with a Sabres game. So we went to see the Sabres. They beat, I think it was Vancouver overtime. Ristolainen hit like an overtime slap shot or something like that to win it in overtime. So that was really cool. So that was their first. I took it for Nate because he's, like I said, he's the hockey guy of the family, and they had a bang up job. So I don't know next time we'll get up there, but it was really cool. Last year we did a little double dip. We did Sabres on like a Friday night, and then did their first regular season game, and that was the Nyheim Hines game against the Patriots. And obviously I don't need to tell you guys how memorable that'll be. So that'll be something we'll never forget.
Yeah, for sure. And actually what I can do is I can send you a link to a YouTube video on the new board. But yeah, I'll get to see it at the home opener next week. I'm going, so I got my pre-sale tickets already, and I figure, I'm going to take my upper deck seats like I usually do so I can see everything. And apparently that thing, just to give you an idea, double size the old board, 27 by 43, high resolution, greater than HD screens, and screens underneath now, so you don't have to have your neck looking like this up at the board in the first 15 rows.
Blue line to blue line, like that's massive. Then
it's like
blue line to blue line is massive.
Yeah, 40. Well, it's 43 feet, and it's a 360-degree screen with curved corners on there, so they can literally throw one thing on all sides. It's just pretty wicked what they did. Plus, they took a page out of the Bills playbook. They actually use who the Bills use now, and it's actually a hell of a lot better, and I won't have to watch it black out during games now, so...
Oh, God.
So,
oh, God.
Yeah.
Well, you guys enjoy your Sabres and enjoy the season. I know the season starts in Prague, right, on Friday night?
It does.
Something like that.
It
Friday
does.
afternoon.
Yeah, they play the Devils. So
back to back. So
yep.
Yeah, I mean, go Sabres, go Bills, and obviously we hope that the Bills can get a win. That I'll be locked in on that on Sunday. So Stephon Diggs' revenge game. I'm hoping we can find a way to get something on offense because I think we're going to need it.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you one thing. I mean, I'm playing both of them this week in fantasy, so I got Nico Collins and Diggs as two of my wide receivers. So I should be able to get some points that way.
Yeah, Nico Collins is a monster, and Diggs will be motivated to say the least.
Yeah.
He'll be
Combined, I mean, they got me
motivated to
over
say the
40
least.
points this past week. So I'm like, all right, this is good. Nico Collins got me like 27 on his own. And then actually playing the 49ers defense was a great thing, too, because they got me 25 after the forced fumble, defensive touchdown, and I think they had 6 sacks on the day.
Well,
So,
good luck to you on Sunday, fantasy football. Good luck to the Bills. Good luck to the Sabres on this weekend. And I really appreciate you guys. Check out Nickel City Crew. And I really do appreciate you guys and your audience tonight.
you got it. Rob Crippen, everybody from Nickel City Crew, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. And then, of course, we'll wrap up, a couple last things here before we end the night. But definitely, no, good to have him on, and, we appreciate it. And let's cover some of the other remaining topics we had for the NHL. And actually, one of the big ones that we wanted to do before we wrap up, Jeremy Swayman and the Boston Bruins contract. And apparently, there's a nice little stalemate going on.
Well, first off, before we get into that topic, I think we should go on at a little extra 15 minutes since we weren't going on with Rob the whole time. So I think we should do that.
All right. We're good.
Yeah, because
We're
there
good.
was so much to cover, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so let's talk about Swayman.
Okay, so there's a bit of a turmoil between goalie and team. So Jeremy Swayman wants a new contract with the Boston Bruins. That is no surprise. And he's one of the best young goalies in the NHL. And things have kind of turned into kind of his role, his team, since Linus Olmark was traded over the summer to the Ottawa Senators. So that way it kind of became his team. So there's been a stalemate between the two, and supposedly I do have the details on me right here, and that is that the Boston Bruins originally offered Jeremy Swayman an 8-year deal worth about $7.8 million. So that's about 64 million combined within all those years. So his agent then said that they do not want to make a rash decision, but a possible outcome is a trade request. So that's that. So the Bruins, like I said, offered him 7.8 million for 8 years. Swayman and his camp wants 8.5 and 8.5 million annually. But then Elliot Freeman went on Sportsnet or the 32 Thoughts podcast, and he said, quote, I think his choice is to be a Bruin, although the other day was certainly emotional. So we're kind of at a standstill. And right now, I'm not sure where we go from here, though I just don't think we're close enough for a deal. And the moment that Cam Neely said, I have 64 million reasons why I'd be playing right now, was the speculation that rampant with Jeremy Swayman would formally ask for a trade. And the statement then revealed that it was one obvious truth that he is considering it.
Oh, good job, Bruins.
It,
Yeah.
Seriously, that is a huge ordeal right here. Because first of all, you trade Linus Olmark for the sake of him wanting a new contract. Okay, you go to
Right.
Ottawa, you give him a new deal. Now it's Jeremy Swayman's turn. He's now the number one in Boston, and he's been developed like that now for a handful of years.
Mm-hmm.
Now he wants a big term. Now he
Right.
wants a big deal, and the Bruins are lowballing him for whatever reason.
Right.
They are low. They are lowballing him, and it's gotten to a point now where Swayman wants to stay in Boston, but Boston does not want to pay him what he wants,
Right.
and he wants double of that.
And it's like at the same time, it's like Boston, you got to be able to pay your players, and especially if you're going to keep goaltenders that you've developed within your own system, you got to pay them.
Yeah, really.
It's really that simple. Otherwise, they're going to do like Allmark did, and he's going to walk.
Yeah, but Omar got traded, so there's a big difference.
Right.
Swayman can't really leave the Bruins because he's an RFA, but what he can do is he can outright say, I want to be traded. If you're not going to pay me, then I'm going to request a trade to a team that's going to pay me what I want. And honestly, I can actually see this going that direction. And the same thing could be said for Kirill Kaprizov in Minnesota with the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
And Kirill Kaprizov is not happy either. He wants a new deal, and the Wild are basically lowballing him as well. And Craig Leopold, the owner of the Minnesota Wild, came out and he basically said that nobody will offer more money than us or longer.
Hey,
So,
yeah, until the first team does.
yeah. But the funny thing about this whole ordeal with Jeremy Swayman and Kirill Kaprizov is there's been a shitload of speculation that Ellie Freeman brought this up himself. He's like, well, there's a possibility that we're going to be entering a new dawn of age in the NHL with RFA contracts. So if a certain team can't offer contracts, one team can just swoop right in and offer more money.
Right.
So it makes me wonder what would be a good spot for Swayman.
It's a good question. I'm trying to think of who could potentially use some goaltending help, and one of the spots I'm honestly thinking, the Penguins are going to need some depth at goaltender.
Pittsburgh?
I mean, that's definitely one spot I'm thinking of. I mean, potentially Pittsburgh. I could see the Blue Jackets needing some additional goaltending help. San Jose would be one.
San Jose doesn't need a goalie. They just got Yaroslav Askarov.
Or, I mean, I'm trying to think who else. I mean, Kraken, I think, should be fine.
Seattle would be a good one.
Well, I was going to say, because they got Grubauer, but
Yeah, but Grubauer is not that great anymore.
right, right.
Well, I've thought of Colorado. Colorado is a possibility.
Okay.
Utah is a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago could be a possibility. I
Chicago
could
needs
see
everything right now.
exactly. New Jersey could be a good option if they're willing to do it. I mean, I know they just
Right.
got Jacob Markstrom, but Markstrom's only got 2 years on this deal currently. So for Swayman to be a Devil, I think would be a huge benefit, considering that New Jersey is still a decent young team and they're on the
Mhm.
horizon. But if you're willing to pay that kind of asset to get him, do it. That's what I would say. Like I said, Utah, Colorado, Chicago, New Jersey, just a handful of teams that need goaltenders. I mean, I think Utah would probably be the best option for him because then he would immediately get paid what he wants. They have the money. And
Yeah,
on top of all that, he would
ownership's
get a
willing to
nice
pay
handsome
now.
extension.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. I mean, they don't have cheap ass owners anymore like they did when they were the Arizona Coyotes, which we'll actually talk about Arizona in just a moment here. But Utah could that actually, I will say this, and they're being fan friendly because they have the cheapest concessions in the league right now too.
Yeah, isn't like a water bottle like $2
Yeah, and beer's cheap. It's not like your $20 beers like you're finding in most places.
in this economy?
I'm like, that is beautiful.
I wish my team and your team had cheap
Yeah,
beer
yeah,
prices. I wish
seriously. Yeah, because I think last time I was at the Keeping Center, I think I paid like $17 for like a tall can of beer or something like that. It was crazy.
that's so expensive. Like I know
Yeah,
why they're expensive because you're paying for the player salary, but I don't even know what to say.
right. I know it's nuts, but we'll see how expensive it is when I go to home opener next Thursday. So we'll see what happens with that. But no, good to see Utah at least being fan friendly and everything. And then of course they're going to start renovating the Delta Center next season to instead of having no seats right behind the goalies behind the goals, they're going to redo the lower bowl. So at least they'll make it work. So that'll be a big plus. But that'll be a nice spot for them long term. But then of course, now that the Arizona Coyotes are in Utah, guess who's invading Arizona? And that is the Vegas Golden Knights, the actual good desert team.
Yeah, for once in their lives.
Yeah.
So there's been some interesting things that came out. So remember that whole ordeal we talked about last week about Robin Leonard, about
Yep.
how they were trying to terminate his contract?
Yep.
Things just got worse for him. I don't
Well,
know if you heard.
yeah, he's still responsible. They're not going to discharge anything under bankruptcy law, so he's still screwed on assets.
Well, speaking of assets, there's been reports that Robin Leonard's assets have been frozen after allegations of spending $1.5 million on gambling, vacations, and luxury purchases following his bankruptcy filings.
Oh, good job, Leonard. You're screwed.
Isn't that a felony?
I don't know if it's a felony, but it's definitely very suspicious.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you're not playing hockey for 2.5 years,
Mhm.
maybe it makes all the perfect sense in the world why Vegas is trying to get rid of him so badly.
Right. And then when you're claiming you're bankrupt, but then you drop 1.5 mil right like it's nothing. It's like, "Oh, that's great."
Yeah, really. Like it's glorious, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah. Talk about flaunting it. And it looks like San Diego just came back and crushed a homer off a four-seam
Yeah.
95-mile-an-hour fastball. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And the Mets are up.
Higashioka.
And the Mets are up 3-1 in the top of the fifth with
Yeah,
second man on base.
there
That's
you
all
go.
I'm saying.
So,
But Vegas has been very interesting. So not only has Robin Leonard been in the news for that team, but the
mm,
state, like the Vegas Golden Knights, are going to invade the state of Arizona for their fan base, because now with the Coyotes gone, the Vegas Golden Knights are attempting to gain Arizona's fan base, with the majority of their games being broadcasted in Arizona this coming year. So because the Coyotes moved to Utah, the Knights are hoping to gain more fan bases from that fan base that left in Arizona. All the Coyotes fans that were Coyotes fans
mhm.
become Golden Knights fans since they're no longer in the desert. So the plan for that is the Golden Knights will broadcast 55 of their 82 games this season on television in both Tucson and Phoenix in Arizona completely for free. And the Golden Knights will also host youth hockey and ball hockey camps in Arizona.
Nice. Good job, Vegas. You're taking over the market there. Good job.
Yeah. And
You're doing what
supposedly,
the Coyotes should have done for over 25 years before they finally left.
yeah. And the funny thing too is there was talks about Arizona coming back as an expansion team, and Vegas outright said no, we're not going to do that.
Good. So it
Yeah,
is safe to say the Arizona Coyotes are officially dead from what it looks like.
unless they get that new stadium deal, which I doubt's going to happen at this point.
Yeah, that probably won't.
But who knows?
Yeah,
And did you see what the Sabers are doing?
with not with the road games, right? Not with Prague, but
No. Um. So according to Tim Graham of the Buffalo News, he said after the completion of New Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, the Bills want to host the Winter Classic in 2028,
there you go.
featuring the Buffalo Sabers.
That would be fun to see that in that new stadium, honestly.
Well, there's a possibility now that, because what's the point of having one now if you're just getting a new stadium in a year or two?
Right. Yeah, be a great way to
Yep.
showcase a new
And
stadium.
oh yeah, for sure. And Pierre LeBrun of TSN also said that the preliminary salary cap number for next season is $92.5 million. And
Okay.
the current cap hit right now is set for this season $88 million.
All right, so yeah, well, a nice little increase, which is good. Got more money to pay some players, which will be a good time, and especially now with what we're going to be looking at. Of course, we will have the opportunity to lock up some more of our younger stars on the Sabers. So it's a great way to get the core in. I mean, at least right now, it looks like we have a legit core that's developing, which is good. Now we just got to get them cemented in. That's all we got to do.
Well, at this point, I'm just pretty much waiting for, okay, are you going to make the playoffs or are you not going to make the playoffs?
Right,
Because it's gotten to a point where you need to make the playoffs with this core. Because if you don't, then everything's going to fall to shit.
right, and you're gonna have to blow up the core, and you'll have to
Yeah,
do it sooner than later.
yeah. And it's going to be a really, really bad idea at
Yeah.
this point. And then Pagula might have to sell and all that jazz. But I forgot to mention one thing about Jeremy Swayman, about the whole
Hmm.
contract negotiation.
Yeah.
And that was Paul Bizinet actually deleted a tweet, which was very interesting to me. But it just outright tells me that he's full of shit. But he also gonna be very well be telling the truth. He said that he got a text from former NHLer Keith Yan, who works on Spitting Chicklets,
Hmm.
and he was saying that he was hearing at the time that Mark, and he said that he was waiting for the details, but he ended up deleting the tweet.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see what
That's for sure.
happens.
But I don't think that's gonna happen because Omar just got to Ottawa.
Right. That's very true. Very
So
true. And
I
just give
don't
you
think that's gonna happen.
yeah, and just give you a real time game update. San Diego and Atlanta are tied at 1 and in the bottom of the second. So San Diego came back. Atlanta hit got on the board first. San Diego answered. So that's a good series, but I will say San Diego smoked them last night. So if San Diego can win tonight, Atlanta is out. If the Mets can win today, Milwaukee's out. The Stros already got swept. So sorry, Trevor. I know you love watching the Stros, but they didn't stand a chance to Detroit this year. So
Yeah, and the Baltimore Orioles got swept by the Kansas City Royals. earlier today.
Yep.
So the American League is set. So the Cleveland Guardians will play the Detroit Tigers. We should mention as well, won their series as well. Um, and on top of all that, the Royals are going to play the Yankees.
Right.
So we should mention that very quick.
Yeah. So we got some good postseason baseball
Cool.
coming down the pike. So good to see. And then last but not
Yeah,
least, just want to give a shout out to our friend Sophia. Hope you're doing well. And basically, I will try to attend your fundraiser event that you have coming up on November 3rd. So I'm going to try and make a trip down to Olean for you guys. So we'll see what happens. It depends on how my move goes. But if I can make it happen, I will definitely make it happen and happy to contribute. And of course, likewise, we'll do what we can. We've got your back. So we know you're fighting a good fight, but, good to see that things are going better than what they were. So of course, from all of us, so if we love you, and we thank you and your family for watching the show as you usually do. So
absolutely. Thank you, Self.
yeah. So that being said, you know what? I don't have anything else to say really, so I'm thinking, good time for us to wrap up. But just want to say, again, Rob Crippen, Nickel City Crew, definitely check him out. We've been simulcasting his show the last few weeks now. I think he's going to be on this Friday. Usually he's on Thursday nights, but we'll have it up on here. So thanks for him for coming on. We appreciate it. Of course, for all you guys watching at home, thanks again as well. Brad, you chimed in from Louisville as you usually do. And he also ended up saying, basically down by him, the big cans are 20 to 22 ounce, and it's only $7 to $9 down in his neck of the woods. I'm like, damn, I wish it was cheap like that up here. So there we go. But
Well, that's not too,
yeah, $7 to $9
that's not too
for
bad.
that size, that ain't bad. So no, it's but one of those. But thanks for watching us down there. We appreciate it. And of course, all you guys, we'll see you here next week as we usually are. So just keep in mind we will not be on the first week of November because of course that's the week actually last week of October because that's the week we're in Seattle. So you'll probably see a Road to 32 episode instead. Plus I'm moving, so I'm gonna
Yes.
have no access to anything for at least a few days.
Yeah, so to give you guys a heads up, we will be on the air on the 23rd of October, but we will not be here on November 6th. So we should be back by October 30th, the day before Halloween.
Huh?
So I just want to throw that out there.
I was gonna say,
What?
November 23rd, we fly out that next morning. No, I mean October 23rd, we fly out that next morning. So obviously that's one. No, what I meant when we come back the 29th, but I'm gonna be moving right after the trip, so we'll probably have Road to 32 that week. So we should be back November 6th.
Okay, so November 6th it is, the day after the election.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it's just because basically I'm gonna have nothing hooked up once I come back from Seattle because I'm gonna be moving. So, gotta set up a
Yeah,
whole new studio in my new place,
absolutely.
which will be cool. New desk, new everything, which will be sweet. So, all new stuff again. So,
Without a doubt.
yeah. But that being said, as usual, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you on the next Buffalo After Dark.